Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, StarCraft fans and StarCraft junkies. I'm JJ and welcome to another 1 vs 1 shoutcast of StarCraft. Of course, none other than Heart of the Swarm. This game is going to be Axiom's Crank playing the blue protoss in the bottom left corner. And here's enemy in the upper right corner, going to be AtnSocke. Socky, I really don't know how to pronounce it properly as to do justice to the man. Now, don't hate me, don't diss me about that. We are all just human and we can have pronunciation problems. It happens, it's normal, it's nothing funny. Well, let's move straight to the game. This game is from Team Acer's Acer Team Story Cup. Brilliant tournament that has... lose the planet in the background. Brilliant tournament that has actually managed to produce some of the practically best games I've seen as of late in StarCraft. Epic, truly epic games, and I believe it's in no small matter due to the way this tournament is composed. It's a little different format than usual. It's a maiden format that one player can actually wipe out an entire enemy team, because if a player wins a game in Team Acer's Acer Team Story Cup tournament, he plays on and on with following enemy players, and that's actually pretty much brilliant, because it makes one guy capable of carrying his team so far ahead. It's quite amazing, breathtaking, and just awesome. Now, I decided to cast a mirror because I personally enjoy mirrors. I know I'm a, well, let's say vocal minority in that case, a little late of gas by Crank, but he decided to build two at the same time. And that's a very good decision by Crank, because he's already placing a pylon in a spot that was otherwise shadowed, and in mirrors like this, especially in this particular mirror, and by that I mean of course Protoss versus Protoss mirror, you need to be extremely wary and careful about any sort of proxy plays, cheese plays, gateway rushes and things like that, because, well, that's just Protoss versus Protoss's mirror's character. Now, I'd like to point out that Crank didn't scout this entire area, because at the third minute, if his enemy Saki would do something cheesy and make proxy gateway build, he'd already see the gateways, and it would be quite late for reaction indeed, as he would have to chrono boost that Zealot and Stacker ASAP. Now, why I like mirrors? Because in mirrors I personally find it entertaining to watch both sides trying to wriggle out some sort of an advantage over their enemy with the use of exactly same means at their disposal. Now, Crank has decided to go for an earlier mothership, and that might explain why he built those two gases earlier than his opponent. And early mothership might actually imply tech option, more of a tech option instead of early 4-gate aggression, as might be in case of Saki, though true gateways are not much of a tell, as well, when it comes to a 4-gate Protoss play. Oh my god, what sort of lag do we have? Never mind, we are finally back in the game, at least let's hope so. Well, yes, I believe that Crank is going to make tech, and that is a Skytas option, and a very good option indeed it is, as Skytas are amazing. And why is that so? Skytas in a Protoss vs Protoss matchup has this little thing about them, that they both work around a Void Ray count. Now, Void Rays are at the moment a little of a problem in StarCraft, because as in this mirror, and I'm referring to it mostly as that's what I'm casting at the time being, in this particular mirror, Void Rays destroy everything a Protoss can build. Now, it's a fact, Void Rays are good versus Void Rays. Void Rays are good versus Stalkers, in large numbers of course. They just melt them, eat away, chew and annihilate those units. Void Rays are good versus Colossi. They are very good against Immortals as well, because they chew through their hardened shields extremely fast with that 0.5 attack speed. Void Rays, I think they are that good versus Charge Lat Archon combination, but well, that's like the only one that they don't eat out straight home. Now, Soke has decided to go for robotics facility instead of a Stargate. But basically, when you play protoss, you have following options. Pylon taken out for Crank by Soki. Very good play by Soki. He managed to supply block his enemy, albeit perhaps knowingly, but it has actually shown his hand, and now Crank knows that the enemy has a lot more stackers than him, because one stacker more at this point of the game is actually quite a lot now. He decided to go on a gamble and build an Oracle. Now, that said, that particular Oracle must pay for itself in abundance, as well. Just look at that stacker spread by Soke. He's looking for all kinds of proxy pylons, which is extremely smart and useful. Now, I believe we should have on the battlefield an observer, and yes it is. He's now going inside the enemy base to scout out, an Immortal being pumped out and Void Ray for respectively for his opponent. Now, I think now Crank is going to expand, so will AtnSocke Soki, but who's in a better spot? At the moment, I believe Crank is a little more contained, that might actually change with those stalkers showing up, and I think he made a crucial mistake. I believe that Soki actually saw that Void Ray, and it's quite of a big tell. Crank nicely taking out enemy's proxy pylon with the use of his mother core, and those proxy pylons, I can't emphasize this enough, are extremely important in this matchup. Now, Observer already controlling Crank's base and knowing what to expect, what to see, and what to counter it with. A good decision to make Twilight Council. Not only will it unlock two upgrades, but that might actually be the case. Well, pylon destroyed and supply blocked, as we don't see even a forge, but Twilight Council will allow Soke to upgrade Blink or Charge. In that case, I believe it's going to be Blink, as he is heavily investing in Starkers for the time being. It's actually a good decision. Now, at that moment, I believe that Crank can actually defend that fairly easily, and he managed to take out that hallucinated Phoenix pretty damn nicely, in order to stop his enemy from scouting out what is he planning. And that now, just think in what position Crank is. Now, Oracle managing to killing two of enemies probes, using that revelation nicely. He should deactivate Pulsar Beam immediately, as it's draining his energy substantially, and it doesn't serve any function for the time being. Now, what are Crank's decisions? What did he actually scout? Let's look at the enemy's base. He knows that Twilight Council is being built. He's got Revelation. That's awesome. He knows that Twilight Council is here, that Forge has appeared, and it might actually start working on Arbalest. He's investing in Templar Archives, but I'm not sure whether Axiom's Crank actually knows that. Now, let's see. He doesn't. He doesn't know that Soki is going for Templar Archives. He might. He's got two options at that moment. Twilight Council on its own isn't the end of that technology tree, so he assumes his enemy is going either Dark Templar or High Templar, and in consequence Archons. Now, I assume he will think more likely of High Templars. Now, why is that so? Because it's late. It's 11th minute, and he's got an Oracle. Oracle that can envision, although not yet, and that's why he retreated that Oracle inside his base, because he needs it as a detector. Now, my point being that he scouted out Twilight Council, and he assumes that since the game now he knows that the Templar Archives, but in that moment of indecision, I believe he played correctly and just assumed the enemy is making High Templars. Of course, he prepared for the option of Dark Templars appearing with Oracle retreating inside the base, but now he's certain. Now he's certain the enemy has went a different pathway. Let's compare actually army size. And army size is severely favoring Crank with a lot of Void Rays on the battlefield, which might be quite a big deal. 5 Void Rays at this point of the game versus only 7 Starkers is a lot. Even if we take into consideration 2 Photon Overcharges, those 2 Archons might not be enough to sway the tide of this battle. A lot bigger army by Crank. He's decided to go on and make a play with having far less workers and investing heavily into that technology. Some Photon Cannons added inside the base, Warp Gates being made as well. It's a good decision by Soke. He needs a lot bigger unit production capability. He's got more money. Now, we've got Photon Overcharge, and that Photon Overcharge is starting to pay its money, but will Crank actually try to loot his way inside the base and just annihilate those targets with the use of Voids, Void Race Prismatic Alignment, and that might actually be the case. He made a very good timing and call, and well, AtnSocke's managed to defend and hold on for now, alright, barely, with taking out one of those Void Rays. He used Time Warp, so he doesn't have for another Photon Overcharge, with Crank's own mothership coming into the play, and that means that Crank is in a perfect spot and position, and if he actually manages to break that line, get inside that base and butcher everything he needs, it might be GG. Now, AtnSocke is fighting for his dear life, and albeit having more workers, he needs those Archons dramatically and desperately, because every single Archon and Photon Cannon at that point is worth just so much at this point. Now, just look at the damage dealt to that Archon. That Archon has been annihilated, and he just doesn't have the anti-air capability to deal with 5 Void Rays at the same time inside the base. Now, those immortals are being actually annihilated the instant Void Rays decided to focus them, and if that expansion forms, it's GG for AtnSocke. Mirrors are very unforgiving, especially that particular mirror, and I believe that Crank going for Skytas has made the proper decision in terms of how the game looks currently, and will reap the benefits of that choice in this game. AtnSocke hasn't said his last word. He's got a lot of resources, and he is adding out some additional Zealots, but that's not Zealots he needs. He needs Archons to deal with those Void Rays, and I believe it might be too late to do that. As a matter of fact, the enemy is now working out inside the enemy his mineral line, and he's got nothing to respond with. 2 Archons are unable to make proper fight and resistance against enemy's massive Void Ray count, which is still substantially increasing. Now, AtnSocke's Archons are getting killed, but they managed to kill one of enemy's Void Rays, consolation prize if you can call it so, but it will not change the outcome of this game. AtnSocke has been annihilated by Crank's mighty and powerful Skytas. Crank has played a gamble. He decided to focus on army, on Void Rays, and make a good timing, go in straight when he had to, with the proper use of scouting, and that actually benefited him greatly and won him this game due to an appropriate timing of this attack when his enemy didn't have high enough Archon count to kill those Void Rays and render them obsolete in terms of unit composition. It was a good decision by Crank, a good timing, and not enough harassment and playing around the map from AtnSocke in order to warrant and justify his play. He went a little over the edge with macro, and it bit him ugly in the ass in the end. And with that conclusion, I bid you guys farewell, and I invite you to see another cast of any of my games. Now, thank you for your attention. See you around. JJ signing out.